Hey, what's going on, y'all? Okay, so I wanted to do something a little bit different today. We're gonna go over, if you're just getting into fishing, what you are going to need and how to go about actually getting into fishing. The first thing is, most states have, if you're 15 or 16 years old or older, you have to have a fishing license. So you need to go on and check with your local laws and find out what age it is. Kids usually get to fish for free, and then I know quite a few states do a once a year, like there will be a certain day where everybody can fish for free. So if you want to wait for that day, I wouldn't. I would go buy a fishing license and get out there and fish, but that's just me. But anyway, check out what your local laws and regulations are and go buy a fishing license. And like here in North Carolina, we have where you get a basically a freshwater, and then you can get a saltwater license as well. So I usually get the combo because I do both. But if you're just going to do freshwater, just get freshwater. But more than likely, when you get into fishing, you are going to want to do both when you really get into it. But alright, so for starters, you can go up to a place like Walmart or your local tackle shop. Usually they have these combo kits that you can get, where it'll come with some hooks and rod, reel. It'll be like a combo. That's what it's called when you buy the rod and the reel together, the combo. But you can either do a push button, which has a button that you push on the back. Push the button in, you hold it, and when you go to cast, you let the button go, and it releases the bail. Or you can get a spinning. For a beginner, I would probably either do the push button or the spinning, and then work my way up to a bait caster. Bait casters are a little more tricky. Once you get used to casting, you can switch over to a bait caster, especially if you're going to bass fish. But this is just a spinning rod and reel. This is my Enigma. Enigma makes some really awesome rods, so check them out. And I actually have Enigma linked down below. I always have it linked down below because I really like their rods. But this one right here is a medium. On the actual rods, see how it's a little more flimsy? So this is a medium, so you basically you go extra light, which is kind of like a micro light, which is really bendy, and it's usually a shorter rod. Then you have usually you go up to an ultralight, which is a little bit stiffer, and you keep going up from there until you get up to a heavy. Now you're not gonna, actually I don't know if they make any heavies like this, but in a spinning, I mean. I know that you can get up to a medium heavy, but I don't think you can get a heavy unless you get like a one piece. But anyway, start off with your rod and your reel. If you get a combo, change out the line, and I've actually done how to change line on these and stuff, videos, but change out the line, because usually the line that comes on it, you don't know how long it's been on there, and the line's usually not very good. Change out the line, and there are several companies that make really good fishing line, but most of the time either probably monofilament or fluorocarbon, and spool that up. And then as far as the actual bait, today I'm going to show you how to throw a basic wacky rig. So this is a wacky rig. I know it looks silly, but that's a wacky rig. I use the Gamakatsu, which is, I need to retie that actually. I use the Gamakatsu. It's a Gamakatsu, I believe. The wacky rig hook, that's a number 3, and then it has a weed guard on it because I fish a lot of weeds. but you take your worm just like that. This is a 4-inch sticko style worm, and then you not dead center, but you rig it right around the center, and when you throw it out there, it sinks and it sort of flutters like that, and the bass love that. If you want to do bait fishing, you can do bait fishing. Bait fishing is, I'm going to retie this. Bait fishing is a little different. Most of the time, if you're just starting out, go get some bobbers. The little kit that I was talking about might come with the bobbers, but go get some bobbers. You don't need anything like this big. Just go get some little bobbers like that. Take a hook in the different size hooks. It depends on what you're trying to catch. If you want to go out and just catch some bluegill or maybe catch some bass, you're going to use different size hooks. And there are tons of tutorials online about use this hook if you're doing this type of fishing, use this hook if you're doing this type of fishing. Some really, really good tutorials out there. So I'm not going to go all into hooks unless you guys want me to. If you want me to, then we can go into that at some point. But as far as the actual bait, you can use worms. If you get worms, most people will put a worm on there and they'll put the whole worm on. That's a waste. All you really need is just a little section of worm. You can pinch off a piece and put that on there, and that'll catch fish just as much as a whole worm. Put a whole worm on there, chances are you are going to lose the fish, or you're going to lose your bait, or both. Because too much worm, that gives them way too much opportunity to just basically spit the hook or just eat what they want and then stop. There you go, retied. And that did not go in my pocket. I'll find it after I'm done here. So there you go, we got that tied on. There are a bunch of different ways to tie, and like I said before, they're very good videos. I do a fisherman's knot. You can do a polymer, which is a very, very strong knot. That's probably a good one for a beginner. But that's it. Next we'll go over some casting techniques. Alright y'all, so with a, I already explained the push button. With a push button, you want to see how far I have that away from the tip. It's about 18 inches. You don't really want to go anywhere past like 12 inches as far as the amount of line you have out to your lure. The reason behind that is when you swing this, see how it's going to carry the bait through. If you reel it all the way up to the end, it makes it a little harder to be accurate with your cast. So right here, you're going to, with a push button, push that button, hold the button down. You're going to bring it back, and then when you are pointing, you swing it out and you're pointing towards where you want to cast, you let go of the button. Then you just one crank of your handle and it locks in the bail, the spool. With this, I usually, see how you have this here? You're actually going to use that. If you hold it back here, that's usually uncomfortable and it's not balanced. If you hold it up here, it's really not as balanced. Right here with the grip, what I do is right between my middle finger and my ring finger, I take and I go like this. Now if you have smaller hands and you're having trouble reaching that line right there, you can move it up one like this to where it's between your pinky finger and your ring finger, but like this, and then pull the line up. And whenever you are actually, whenever you're reeling like this, watch where the bait is from your rod tip, and then watch right here, so you line that up. See how it's right here? And then I'm going to go like this, and I'm just going to pull the line back. See how I'm like keeping it on my fingertip? I'm going to pull the line back up here, and what I do so it doesn't slip off is I actually pull it back up to where it's touching between here and here. That way the line's not going to slip. Take this, you're going to flip this over. This is your bail. So now this is an open bail. You bring it straight back, and then when we are pointing where we want to cast, all we're gonna do is point our finger forward like this. We're gonna point our finger forward, and that's gonna let the line come off of the bail. So we're gonna do this. See, cast straight out. Now since we're fishing a wacky rig, we're gonna let that sink a little bit. All right. Flip the bail back over. We're going to pull it up a little bit, and we're jigging it straight up. If you watch my rod, see? And then what I do, since I fish a lot of weeds, like I said, I bring it up and I give it a couple little pops. That gets it up through the weeds. We're going to let it float back down. Remember, when you bring it up, you're bringing it up, and that's action. Sometimes they'll hit it when you're popping it up, and then when you let it fall back down, it's sort of floating like that. And then we're going to drop our rod tip down while we're reeling, and then we're watching the line, and we're also feeling. You can feel, especially with these Enigma rods, you can feel all the vibrations coming right through the rod. Rod tip down. Right to the weed edge right there. We're going to reel, bring the rod tip down. Alright, we're to the weeds, and we actually got some. These kinds of weeds, you can just do that and rip them off. And it is important, you don't want to keep casting out with a bunch of weeds on there, because it's going to make the action not as realistic, and it's also going to basically make it look exactly like it is, just a bunch of weeds. We're going to cast out. We're going to let that sink a little bit. All right. Let that sink to the bottom. We're going to reel down, and we're just feeling for anything. It's going to be kind of like a tap. It'll be like, kind of like that. Or sometimes you'll see the line jump, or sometimes you'll see that line just take off. Sometimes the bigger fish, when they hit it, they will just like take off with the line. Another good thing to have is a good pair of polarized sunglasses. I'm going to actually put mine on right now because the sun is definitely bright enough. Oh, there's one. It's not a bad one. That's the perfect place to hook it too. Right up in there. See how fat it is? And when you lip a bass, you lip them right like that. You put your thumb right there, get a good grip on them, hold them right like that. And make sure you don't, if you're gonna pick him up like this, put another hand right here under him so you don't break his jaw. There's one. I'm not past the weeds there. I didn't have to use them on that bass, but the other important thing, whenever you're fishing, I don't care what you're fishing for, always have a pair of pliers with you. Alright, so something you can play around with is Get your bait about that far. That's about 24 inches maybe. And then, you know, if you've ever skipped a rock, this is really useful around docks, which I'll show you when we get up to the dock. But if there's nobody there, you can do what's called skipping. So a bait like this skips pretty well, or if you have a Texas rig that skips really well, you can skip it for like 25 feet. But take it like this. You're going to cast, but you're going to keep your rod pretty much level with the water as much as you can, and just skip it like you would a rock ledge. See? Now if you're closer to a dock, you can do it obviously right here in front of you, but that's a super effective technique for throwing under a dock, because fish really like cover. You got to find some kind of cover usually. You know, it's going to go out in open water. Thought something grabbed it. Something did grab it. It's my bluegill or something. Or a little bitty bass. There's one. See, I can see my line moving. Little bitty one. And he swallowed it. This might be a good time to show you how to get it out of their gullet. Alright, buddy, you gotta stop. It's so slimy. Very slimy. Alright, wasn't really hoping this would happen, but it's a good thing it did. So, see how that's buried in there? So, you're not going to be able to just pull that loose. So the best thing to do is to actually turn that hook. And what I mean by that is, we are going to take our pliers. It said we had to have pliers. We're going to reach up under here, but we're not going to get up into the gill rakes, and we're going to turn that hook down like this. See how it's down? See how I turned it down in there? And then we can reach in with that hook turned down in there, turn it a little bit more. Alright, so see how that hook is turned down? I got you, buddy. And we can pull that right out of its gullet right there. See? Got my worm. Oh, there's that reaction strike I was wanting to show y'all. Alright, so imagine you were fishing a frog and you weren't fishing that as fast. You would have had that big hook set. Anyway, I wanted to show you all that because it is interesting. Hook this up here and we're going to call it. So the moral of the story and the end of the video is get out there and fish. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to see another video like this, make sure that you hit the like button, comment, share the video out, and subscribe. And if you want to see more like this, I will do more like this. All you gotta do is ask. I can go more in depth if you'd like. But I will catch y'all next time. Take care.